Lie still and break, for a dream's sake. Podfic's note. As this fic deals with heavy topics, please make sure you've read the content warnings which I've listed in the description below before proceeding. Chapter 6. It happens about 3 hours later. Izuku and Shota have settled around Shota's body once again, and they're in the middle of a conversation, debating on whether All Might is the best hero, when the frequency of Shota's heart picks up, caught by the heart monitor. What does that mean? Izuku looks at the machine, his face turned away from Shota. When he looks back, he's smiling. You're waking, Aizawa-san. There's fog in between his ears, and suddenly Shota feels heavy. He feels fingers. It's such a ludicrous thing. He can tell he's lying down even though he's not. He has arms constrained by casts and his head aches and... Don't fight, Aizawa-san. It's okay. You can go. Shota looks to his kid, though his sight is doubling, a blurry ceiling overlaid over the ghost boy. His beautiful kid, bright eyes and green hair and keen intelligence. Izuku's smile doesn't fall. Shota doesn't stop fighting. He doesn't want to leave Izuku alone. But he loses. Always, always, the world wins. His awareness comes back slow and shaky. He finds he's staring at a ceiling, and then he blinks as light is shown in his eyes. Words come warbled through his ears. Pupils are responsive. Shadowy shapes come close. He feels something touching him. Twitches. The shape leaves, eventually. He doesn't keep track. He's not even sure who he is. He closes his eyes. He sleeps. The next time footsteps come near, he jerks, catches a wrist. The doctor yelps. How are kids? The kids? You mean your students? They're fine, Aizawa-san. There's more after that, but Shota's eyes drift shut. His kids are fine. He can rest. In the middle of the night, Shota's eyes open to a blurry room and a strange hallucination. A short boy with green hair stands at the foot of his bed, staring. In the twilight, Shota can't read his expression. Does the kid look sad? Does he look like he's speaking? His eyes can't focus on the shape. The whole world is blurry, and his head aches something phenomenal. Shota doesn't hear anything. He's too tired to speak, especially to hallucinations born of brain damage. He sighs, shuts his eyes. The boy is gone from his room and his thoughts by the time morning comes. Hisashi's there the next time Shota wakes up. His friend beams, relief and happiness clear on his face, and Shota feels his own lips quirk up in response. Hey. Hisashi's smile turns tremulous. Hey, tough guy. Good to see you. You, had us worried there for a bit. Did I? Don't worry. Shota's voice is like gravel on his throat. He's not sure he's entirely legible, and his head feels like it's splitting in two. But his friend is here, looking heartbroken, and Shota needs to be there. He rasps. I'm not ready to kick it yet. Good, good. What day? Shota trails off. Wednesday. It's been a week, Shota, since the USJ. Shota's breath hitches, and he falls straight through a panic attack, a metal hand compressing his lungs like the Nomu who'd cracked his head, his broken arms flailing against an assailant that isn't there, that Shota couldn't beat. Hisashi holds him down and holds him safe, and the man proves to be his friend all over again, because all throughout he repeats what Shota most needs to hear. The kids are fine. Everyone made it out alive. They're safe. You're okay. The kids are fine, Shota. They're waiting for you. They're fine. They're alive. You're alive. You're okay. It's a few more days before the pain abates enough that Shota gets bored. He gets visits by Hisashi and Nomuri and Tensei. Even Nezu comes toddling into his hospital room, no doubt informed by hacked-in security cameras, or perhaps he grudgingly acknowledges, by Hisashi, that Shota is up for visitors. After the usual, "What am I?" cheery announcement, which isn't quite as grating as All Might's "I am here." The animal perches on the edge of his bed, handing Shota a cup of tea specially made for him. It's warm and subtle, and relaxes him in such a way that he wonders if Nezu added some drugs into it. But Nezu is nothing if not big on consent, and deep inside, Shota knows he's being unfair. He chooses to be grateful instead. The principal reassures Shota that all is well, his classes have been covered, the students are getting mandatory therapy sessions with Hound Dog, Nezu's been dedicating his entire free time to tracking down what he can about the villains. At Shota's insistence, he gets Detective Tsukauchi on the phone to let Shota give his statement. Nezu's eyes positively gleam as he finally gets Shigaraki's full name. Asui's testimony had been patchy and uncertain. Finally, after a quick game of shogi, quick because Shota's head starts hurting after 10 minutes, so Nezu silently puts him out of his misery, Nezu bids Shota goodbye with a pat of his paw on his hand and a soft, "See you soon, Aizawa-kun." Shota closes his eyes with a grunt, and realizes the shogi match was no doubt Nezu checking his cognitive capacity, and his current pain threshold. He finds himself chuckling softly. "Shota, you can't get yourself discharged already!" Hisashi's loud voice borders the loudness associated with this quirk. His friend's hands are fisted at his sides, and he looks part distressed and part exasperated. His eyes are resigned. They've had this conversation before. "Zashi, we have Recovery Girl on site. I'll be careful, I won't put any strain on my injuries." "This is different, Shota." And now Hisashi's voice is tight and angry. "Recovery Girl can't do anything for neurological injuries. That's why you're here. You nearly died on the table, Shota." Hisashi's voice breaks. And Shota feels shame. He does, but at the same time he's determined. He wants to get back to his life, to his class, to being a hero. He doesn't want to be a victim anymore. Words suddenly well up from a nebulous part of his brain. Words in his voice, spoken with his own full conviction. "Have a care for your safety." And Shota suddenly feels like a hypocrite, with no idea why. He grumbles and falls back on his pillows. "Fine, I'll wait, Zashi." His friend makes a tremulous sound, grabs his hand with both of his. Shota pretends he doesn't see Hisashi wiping away some tears, but he does say, because he feels like shit, "Sorry." "It's okay, Sho, I get it. There's nothing for me in this hospital." "I know, don't worry." And there's his friend's energetic, comforting smile. "You'll be back with us soon enough." On the day Shota is supposed to get discharged, for once not against medical advice, he receives an email from Nezu with a video link embedded into it. Rolling his eyes, he clicks it. That mouse, bear, stoat dog signature emoji means the sender's identity is unmistakable. The footage is old, with the grainier quality Shota remembers from his own childhood. It's an All Might interview taken somewhere in the middle. It dates back some 15 years or so. Shota nearly shuts it down without watching, but then his interest is piqued.
"All thanks to underground heroes,"
All Might is saying.
"Oh,
The journalist's tone turns condescending.
well, but those are subsidiary, right? Sort of like secret sidekicks." "What?"
All Might's burly face is awash in surprise, and in the next minute he frowns. His frown has scared shitless many villains. There's a reason the hero smiles at the public.
"Not at all. They are full-fledged heroes, and they do amazing work, Namari-san. And very important work it is, too. You see, underground heroes get us and the police all the information we need to mount a successful operation. Some of them infiltrate, some spy, some go undercover, some have CIs, some just have quirks that are best kept hidden. They become our ace during a mission."
All Might leans forward. There is passion in his voice, coming loud and clear despite the bad quality of the video's sound. And Shota, who spent a lot of time in childhood looking up to All Might, and perhaps as much time as an adult growing disappointed with him and Limelight heroes in general, Shota can't help but lean forward too.
"All of us patrol, of course. Proximity heroism goes for all. But at the end of the day, Limelight heroes take down villains. Underground heroes take down networks. They undo evil at the root. We come at the end, you see? Without underground heroes, there wouldn't be limelight heroes. And likewise, without limelight heroes, the underground heroes couldn't get the anonymity they need.
The video cuts off. The title reads, Unreleased/interview cuts. The first comment reads, Damn Hero Commission policing what we see on TV. The second one says, God, I can hear them whine already. Underground heroes must be harder to regulate and control. Can't have kids wanting to go underground now, do we? Better sweep it all under the rug. Shota frowns down at his phone. The screen has made his head hurt, so he closes his eyes. All Might's never looked down on underground heroes. Huh. I didn't know that. He wonders why Nezu sent this. The answer becomes clear a couple hours later when Hizashi strolls into the room, accompanied, weirdly enough, by Yagi. Shota narrows his eyes consideringly. The older hero avoids his gaze. Ready to be discharged, Sho? Indoor voice Zashi. And yes. Donning on his hero costume has never felt so great. As he steps over the threshold of his thrice-damned hospital room, Shota finds himself pausing. Aizawa-san? Wrong tone of voice. Too deep, he thinks, before frowning. This is Yagi's regular voice. Why would it feel unfamiliar? It's just Aizawa, Yagi. Oh, sure. Are you ready? Shota hides his face in his capture weapon and follows. Hizashi's already bounded ahead, of course. At the discharge desk, the doctor meets Shota for the last time. Well, until the next checkup, but Shota can dream. And pelts them with a shit ton of medical advice. It goes from one ear to the next, but Hizashi nods, listening carefully. Yagi takes notes, and Shota spies the man's phone in his shirt's pocket, active and connected in a call, to Nezu, no doubt. He wants to pretend he isn't touched, but he can't lie to himself. He is. He doesn't let it show, though. His poker face is impeccable, especially now that he has his capture weapon back. Sadly, his hair is still short. It feels like something is lacking, and yet it's probably better for his quirk's use. Hizashi pops down to the pharmacy to retrieve Shota's meds, leaving Yagi and him alone. Shota leans back against the wall. His legs are not shaking. He's just tired. He's been tired before. It'll be fine. Just need some shut-eye. Yagi, of course, chooses that moment to speak. Aizawa, I wanted to say I'm sorry for what happened. I should have been there. Shota side-eyes the deflated All Might and shrugs. Can't fault you for being a hero. After all, Shota patrols nearly every night despite teaching, despite the risk to himself. He's had to miss class a few times due to injury, counted on the fingers of one hand, but still. And it has to suck to only have 3 hours a day to do what you've always loved, not to mention only one lung, and crappy liquid food. Although now that he thinks about it, Shota's craving a jelly pouch. And weirdly, Katsudon. But it was my failure that... Yagi, no. If I'd been there... Shota pushes himself off the wall and glares at Yagi's helping hand reaching out to steady him. He doesn't need it. It is better that things didn't go according to plan for the villains. If you'd been there from the first, they would have kept their forces concentrated. Between the 100 villains, Shigaraki, Kurogiri, and the Nomu, they might have managed to kill you. Can you imagine how the class would feel if they'd had to watch their teacher die in front of them? Yagi swallows and meets his eyes briefly. Yes, actually, he says in a small voice. I can. Right. Shota clears his throat and tosses his head impatiently. Look, without you blowing an escape route through the wall, we would all be dead. Things were bad, but we were lucky. It gives him nightmares still, how lucky they were. Their leader for the operation was incompetent, an immature kid with no impulse control, no strategic mind. It could have been so much worse, Yagi. So I don't regret the way things turned out. You shouldn't either, even if that means I got beat up a little. You didn't get beat up a little. But perhaps you have a point. Still, I will do better from now on. As Yagi turns to welcome Hizashi, Shota notices a book peeking out of the man's back pocket. A familiar book from his own days earning his teaching license. He frowns and mutters, for the sake of Nezu's microphone, for of course the call is still running. Fine, you win, you little rat. He'll be forbidden from physical activity for a while. Perhaps he can take some hours in the week to help Yagi with his certification courses. The hospital's lobby is crowded, as hospitals always are. Shota is halfway through the throng when he catches a glimpse of green hair and his head swivels on reflex. He looks through the crowd, but whoever caught his eye is gone. Why would I even notice something like that? Why would green hair somehow matter more than red, blonde, or black? Perhaps it's just because it's rare. Or perhaps a nurse on my floor has green hair? He doesn't recall one, but the things the mind picks up when it's tired. Show? Shota shakes his head and hurries after his friend, keen to get his life back on track. He doesn't spare the hospital a second glance. End of chapter 6.